Sljedeći, vidjeli ste ga sad na panelu, ovdje je sjedio gospodin Paulo Andrez, ovdje će sada održati jedno predavanje. Mislim da ne trebam sad puno pričati o njemu, znači čovjek je President Emeritus of European Business Angel Network, jedan od najuspješnijih, osvojio je sve medalje, zna sve o biznisu koji vas zanima, u koji vi ulazite i ovdje je sa prezentacijom da naučite nešto više, vi koji ćete investirati ili pogotovo vi koji tražite investitore, a to su 7 mistakes entrepreneurs do when raising money. So, please welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Paulo Andrez. Thank you. Here's your clicker. We invented it. Yes. Oh, wait. Here you go.
Thank you for the invitation to be here. I was asked to talk about what are the main mistakes I see from the entrepreneurs in order when they try to raise money from angel investors or also VCs. You know, the main problem is that less than 2% of the projects that are presented to business angels and also to VCs get funded. So less than 2%. And when you talk with entrepreneurs, what do the entrepreneurs say? What is the problem? And the problem that entrepreneurs say is that there is lack of money available in the market. But if you talk with angel investors and also with VCs, what do they tell you? That there are not enough investable projects. So who is right? Who is wrong? Maybe there is a problem. So based on my experience, not just as an angel investor, but also talking with a lot of networks around Europe, but also helping entrepreneurs to raise money through my incubator that I have mentioned before, that we have helped more than 265 companies to raise money from angel investors, from VCs, and from other sources of funding. I came out with 7 mistakes or the way things that the entrepreneurs do when they try to raise money from angel investors or from VCs. So the 7th one is that people think that if I have a good idea, I will get investors. And that is completely wrong. If this would be true, all of us would be just generating ideas. And then we would just, when we find a good idea, then we would get this money. As Martin said very clearly in the morning, that idea is not really something that is valuable. Execution is very, very important. So if you have just an idea, but you don't show how the execution will be done, then it may worth 0. So if you have the best idea in the planet, you have the best product in the planet, you have the best team in the planet, but you do not have one single client willing to buy your product or service, then your idea is worth 0. So people that think that they just have an idea and someone will fund, that is not true. When I talk with some investors and I talk to them and they say, oh, idea is really important. Yes, but then I say, oh, I have an idea. I have the cure for the cancer. So just invest 100,000 euros on my idea. It's a fantastic idea with high potential. And then the people say, oh, how are you going to do it? Oh, so it's not just idea, it's about execution. And that is the main issue, is about execution. The 6th mistake, I think, is that entrepreneurs do not want to do sometimes rethinking of their businesses. So they think that they have an idea, they need money, and they go to pitch for the money. So the question is, what is the best money for an entrepreneur? It's his own money, it's his family money, it's the bank, it's business angels, it's VCs, it's crowdfunding. What is the best money for an entrepreneur? And the best money, and should be the first option for an entrepreneur, is clients' money. If you have clients, then probably you do not need other sources of funding. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs trying to raise money, and I said, come on, but why are you raising money? Why don't you talk with potential customers? Because if you find customers, then you don't need money. And I always ask this question. If I get you an order of $1 million or euros from these potential clients, do you still need money? No, I don't need money if that happens. Okay, so if that is the case, please talk with potential customers to see if you can raise money, if you can get orders from them. And if you get orders from them, you do not have any other problem. So the entrepreneurs should think before trying to raise money from angels. Entrepreneurs sometimes try to build factories while they have never sold a product or a service. So it is possible that the entrepreneur tries to mitigate that risk by outsourcing the production in the first time instead of building a factory. And this reduces the amount of money that is needed for an entrepreneur. Another issue is that entrepreneurs say that the risk is for the investors. I had one entrepreneur, I had several entrepreneurs, but one entrepreneur is 45 years old. He came to me and he brings his CV and say, oh, I've been successful all my life. I was managing director of this company, export director of that company, and I'm 45 years old and I need 1 million euros for my project. And I want to invest 15,000 euros. And I said, okay, tell me what is your problem. Tell me what is your problem. So in 20 years of work, successful work, you were only able to save €15,000 to establish your business. So where did you spend all the money? It's gambling? It's alcohol? It's drugs? Tell me, where did you spend the money? And another thing is that you went to the bank and the bank didn't give you the loan. So what did you do to the bank? Why the bank is not giving you the loan? And by the way, you didn't find any friend that you know that trusts you to put some money into the company. So what did you do to your friends? You do not have friends? And worse than that is that you do not have any relative, any member of your family that can put some money into your project. So please, what did you do to your family? You are alone in this planet. And he says, no, I have the money, but I don't want to risk the money. So I have this idea, and the risk is for the investors. So when there is no skin on the game, and by the way, the guy wanted to earn 10,000 euros per month, so basically it was 1.5 months of risk for him, for the money that he was putting there. So if the entrepreneur is not able to put skin on the game, the investors will think that there is too much risk for them. People think that investors do not want to invest because they don't have money. Some entrepreneurs think about it. But the reason for that is that it's too much risk. And there are two types of risk. You can have the project risk, so if the project has too much risk, and the investment risk. And these these different types of risk are really important for you to understand. For instance, in UK, if you are an angel investor and you invest in a project that is too risky, but because you can deduct some money on your tax, let's say 50% of that money, your investment risk is reduced by 50%. But in some countries, like in Croatia, you do not have these tax breaks, so you can only reduce the risk of your project. And in any business, there are 5 risks, any business. Market risk. Is there a market for the product? How is the competition will react? Then you have the team risk. We have already talked here about the team, and it's really important, the team. If we have a great team, or it's just a scientist with a great idea, but with no knowledge about business, about marketing, about sales, etc. Then we have the legal risk. We know many businesses, fantastic business, but they are not legal. So the investors cannot invest on those businesses. And the main problem about the legal side, usually you need sometimes a license. And I've seen many businesses failing because they were expecting to have a license in 3 months or 4 months after they start the company. And sometimes it takes 2 years. And the running costs of the company, they consume all the cash, and then the company goes bankrupt. So this legal aspect of the company is very important. And then we have the financial risk. If we are dependent on one client, if we are dependent on a bank loan, so the entrepreneur should try to mitigate this risk as well. And the last one is operational. Is it something that entrepreneur has never done, or is it something that entrepreneur has already done and he knows how to operate this business? So these 5 risks should be something that the entrepreneur should try to mitigate these risks. Valuations. This is another issue about valuations. What happens usually is that traditionally, entrepreneur makes estimates what are the revenues and the profits of the company. Then he hires an investment bank, an expert, a company that is specialized on investments, and based on those figures, then there is an evaluation about that. And then the entrepreneur comes to the investors and says, hey, I have this valuation made by this super expert company or by this bank. I can tell you one thing. I don't know, and I've asked this before. If you know, please tell me. Do you know any company, any project that has pitched 5 years ago with some revenues forecasts, and these revenues and these profits have happened exactly the way they expected? If you know, just tell me. I've been asking this, and I don't know any company. So what we know is that the forecasts of the entrepreneurs that they are presenting to the business angels or the VCs will not happen. Will not happen. We know this, okay? So if it will not happen, how is it possible with wrong input data, that is those forecasts, we have a method that will give a right valuation? I don't know how is this possible. I've seen a lot of people talking about valuations, about hundreds of methods, but I don't know how is this possible. If there is wrong data in input, there is no method in this planet that can put this with a good valuation, a correct valuation. One problem that I see in the entrepreneurs is that they promise the investors, oh, I will have these revenues, these profits in this year 1, year 2, year 3. And based on this, I want this valuation. But if these figures do not happen, like in terms of revenues or profits, then the entrepreneur doesn't want to change the valuation. So those two things must be connected. A way to solve this problem for entrepreneurs in order to get this money from investors is to tell them that they should if the company doesn't have these revenues, then the valuation will be this. And if the company has these revenues, the valuation will be that. And in that way, nobody will feel that they have made a mistake. Because if the forecasts of the entrepreneur will be higher in reality, entrepreneur will tell the investor, oh, you are very experienced, you tried to screw me, and we got a very low valuation. I need more shares. But if the opposite happens, which is the most part of the times, then the investor will say, hey, you have promised me this, and it didn't happen, so I need more shares. And so it's a marriage with a divorce that is already signed, but someone will be unhappy in the end of the day. So why are we doing this that does not make much sense to do this kind of marriage, if we can say? So in terms of valuations, we have to be careful. If I have an idea that is to sell water with sugar in Croatia, because I think that people in Croatia have been drinking water without flavor. So I'm going to sell water with the sugar. And there are 4.5 million Croatians, and I say, oh, I just need 10% of Croatians to buy one bottle of this water with sugar. So based on this, I will earn 1 million euros per year. So based on this 1 million euros profit, I go to the bank and the bank says, oh, if you have this business of 1 million euros, then your project is worth 4 million euros. So do you think that my idea to sell water with sugar to Croatian people is worth 4 million euros? Of course not. Something is wrong. I didn't talk with the clients. I didn't discuss how I'm going to distribute this. There are a lot of things that I didn't do. So please don't do valuations based on an Excel sheet that, by the way, can be massaged. I tell entrepreneurs, tell me what is the valuation you want, and we can massage the Excel sheet so that you are happy. And that is one of the problems. Another issue is that entrepreneurs start talking with angel investors without understanding the term sheet language. It's like a person that does not speak Chinese trying to communicate with the Chinese people that does not speak our language. It's impossible. You can do gestures, but you cannot do a real agreement because it's impossible. And if an entrepreneur is trying to raise money from angel investors or from VCs, you should try to learn the language that we speak. Things like drag along, tag along. If you don't know what is drag along and tag along, you should not be able to talk with angel investors. IBAN, we have in our website a booklet, and Crane here in Croatia, they have also this booklet that tells entrepreneurs what are these terms and how they should negotiate with angel investors. So at least you are ready to understand the same language, because I've seen fantastic entrepreneurs with great projects talking with good business angels, but they do not agree because the entrepreneur doesn't understand the language of the investor. So they should have the same language. And sometimes, of course, there are some angel investors that they are not so experienced and they have the same problem. So the problem is not just from the entrepreneur side. Another issue that I see in the projects is that entrepreneurs, they go to talk with angel investors, but they do not think as business angels. So what happens is that in the end of the day, they are sometimes making suggestion of returns for angel investors very, very low. So I ask the entrepreneur, look, what you are suggesting is for the angel investor to have returns of 4% per year, let's say. Would you invest on this company? And the entrepreneur says, no. Oh, I didn't realize it was 4%. Yes, it's what you are suggesting. Oh, okay, I understand. So entrepreneur should think about what they are suggesting and if they would be an investor, if they would invest or not into the company. And that is something that I think it's really important for the entrepreneur to understand if what they are proposing is something that makes sense or not. The last one is, we have already talked here a bit about this, is the selection of investors in the most part of the times is based mainly on money issues. I've received several entrepreneurs telling me, oh, we need 1 million euros, and we have already 2 investors that they are from real estate, so they don't understand anything about this project, but they are putting 500,000 euros, and we have agreed with them the same valuation. And so we want you to agree on those terms, and we are looking for 500,000 euros. But I am going to spend lots of time with entrepreneurs. I'm going to add lots of value, so I cannot accept as an angel investor that they are putting the same terms as the others. And I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs choosing angel investors or financial investors in the most part of the cases just because they give better valuations for the entrepreneur. And so the entrepreneur says, oh, this guy is valuing my project at 1 million euros, while you are valuing my project at 500,000. So I prefer the other ones. And then they end up with investors that they are not so good, and they are not so, they do not add value to the project. And this is a huge mistake. One of the issues about the way to talk with investors is, and I have said this in the previous panel, is to ask the investors, where can you add value to this project? Where can you help me with this project? And if you listen to the investors and understand where they can add value, then it is something that is very important, and you'll end up with a better deal than the one that it was offered to another investor. Thank you, and that's what I wanted to discuss with you. I don't know if there is time for Q&A. Yes? Okay, if you have some questions, just go, and if I can see, wants to ask questions. No people, there is no entrepreneurs here? Okay. You want to become an investor? Yes, good. The 5 risks, if I can repeat the 5 risks. So the 5 risks is market risk. If there is a market, how is the competition to react? So how can you mitigate the risk? If it's a business-to-business project, if it is a business-to-business project, there is no excuse in the planet, no excuse in the planet not to talk with potential customers. I see some entrepreneurs coming to me and say, I've been working in this platform for 2 years. And I said, did you talk with any customer? No, we didn't have time. 2 years and you didn't have time. Come on, just take the plane, go to talk with potential customers. Listen, if it's a business to consumer, you can do crowdfunding, reward crowdfunding, platforms like Indiegogo or Kickstarter. You go there, put your project and try to see if people want to buy your products or not. There is no excuse for people not to get the response from the market. So, first risk, market. Second risk, team. If it is a team that has already delivered, because the team is about execution. Is this the right team to execute this idea? Because you can have the best idea in the planet, but with zero execution, your idea is worth 0. Then we have the legal risk. The legal risk is about sometimes IP. If the IP is well protected or not. If we need a license. If there is, how much time does it take to get the license? So this is the third risk. The fourth risk is the financial risk. If it is dependent on a bank loan, if it is dependent on the payments of a customer. And the last one is operational risk. In operational risk, if it's the entrepreneur knows how to operate the business. One thing is the entrepreneur says, I've been working in this field for 10 years, so I know how to operate. That is fine. If it is something new, if it is something that nobody has done before, then you need to see how you can mitigate this risk. Usually, if this is a device, and I've seen these things a lot, if there is a new device and you want money for the device, to raise money for the device, you should try to get an entity that is independent and can say that what you are claiming that this device will do, in reality, it will do. Because then you reduce the risk. So is market, team, legal, financial, and operational. Any more questions? No? Okay. All right, thank you.